Well, thanks for staying with us. Time now for Media Watch, for which I'm joined by Aurore Dupuy. Hi, Aurore.
Hi, all good.
Right, so tonight we're going to start off with some pretty controversial footage that's gone viral online. An inmate has allegedly managed to post videos of himself from his prison cell. How do you do that?
Absolutely, and we're not talking about any inmate, we're talking about Youssouf Fofana. If you remember, he was the leader of the infamous the Barbarian gang, and back in 2009, well, he was jailed for life for the murder of a young Jewish man in the suburbs of Paris. Now, his gang has lured the man into a trap, sending a female gang member to chat him up, and they then kidnapped him and tortured him for 3 weeks. Now, Fofana is in jail, and he is suspected of posting videos, 15 racist videos on the internet. These videos have gone viral. They're still available there. And we can actually take a look at that video there. You can see a man that's posing as Fofana. He says he is Fofana, but he's wearing dark sunglasses. It's hard to recognize him really. But his prison cell was searched and the authorities haven't found any recording equipment, which is very odd. However, labour unions are convinced that it is Fofana because, as you can see in the picture behind him, the sellotape that's being used is a sellotape that's been used in that particular prison, and labour unions have recognised the wall as well, saying that it is him. Now, this controversial video has come up 3 weeks after yet another scandal. The woman that was used as bait during the murder, she had an affair with the manager of the prison that she was in, and you can see a picture of the prison manager there in L'Express magazine.
God, you wouldn't think that it'd be that difficult to identify somebody who'd been in the headlines so much. Now, but moving on, so we've also got French President Nicolas Sarkozy's focus on his televised debate last night. The media's mainly picked up on the food fight.
Yes, the food fight à la French. It's been dubbed the halal meat drama here in France. And after the controversial debate on the full veil, if you remember now, French politicians are discussing the way the animals are slaughtered and whether that should be mentioned on the food packaging. Let's take a look at a few international headlines which are filled with fun play on words. You can take a look there at the Pakistan Today, which says that Sarkozy's using Muslims as his scapegoats. Let's take a look at the front page of the Washington Post, which says next course in France's culture war, with a picture there of the country's only halal slaughterhouse in Bourgogne in central France. And finally, in the Independent, which says Sarkozy seizes on a meaty election issue. Now, as you know, France's secularism has deep historical roots, and it's also home to Europe's largest Muslim population. So issues like halal meat and immigration are crucial, particularly in this electoral campaign, just 2 months away from the presidential election. Now, in the polls, Sarkozy is trailing behind his main rival, François Hollande, the socialist. And for the Daily Telegraph, well, Sarkozy is desperate to court the far-right voters in a bid to win this next election.
So they're speculating that it's a pretty cynical move on his part.
Yes, absolutely. And the far-right, by the way, which is led by Marine Le Pen, is asking for international observers to come and monitor the next presidential election in April, which is surprising. Well, according to Marine Le Pen, she says that back in 2002, the election was marred by fraud. Back then, her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, was a candidate, and she's saying that she doesn't want any of this fraud to happen again.
Right, okay. So we're going to hear some more about what went on backstage now at last night's debate.
Absolutely. France's First Lady, Carla Bruni, was at the TV station France 2 last night to listen to her husband's debate. Now, Bruni stayed in Sarkozy's dressing room, and during the show, she reportedly, according to Le Monde, she reportedly said that to one of his advisors, she reportedly said that her husband had a lovely voice. Then the Fouquet scandal sprung back up. If you remember, back in 2007, Sarkozy had dined in a luxurious restaurant to celebrate his victory, and that sparked outrage because Nicolas Sarkozy had posed himself as the president of the people, as the president of the spending power. Now, when the journalist during last night's debate asked, "Do you regret any of this?" Carla Bruni reportedly sighed and said, We are modest people. And then she turned to the advisor and she said, do any right-wing journalists ever get to ask the questions?
Right, okay. Well, thanks very much for that, Aurora. Now, we're going to just before we run out of time, but finally, a group of 60-year-old men and women have come up with a parody of the French candidates.
Yes, and they are from Brittany. They're all 60-year-olds, and they imitated all of the candidates just for a laugh, they say. LOL has no age, according to them, and their video is on YouTube, and it's gone viral. So more than 400,000 people have watched their video. So we're just going to leave you with a bit of one of their cheesy songs, a parody of the candidates.
Well, let's have a look.
C'est vrai que la campagne est belle. C'est le marathon des fanfarons. Les promesses vont à tire-d'aile. On tire un but sur les pigeons.
Il faut virer les immigrés et reconstruire sans hésiter une super francocratie.
I actually find that rather sinister. But thanks very much for talking us through Media Watch, Aurora Dupuy. Well, stay with us. Time now to take a look at what's being clicked to, linked to, and liked online.